office, President Trump sat down for an interview that will air on NBC before the Super Bowl. But Trump was happy to do the interview because now he could say, 100 million people watched the Super Bowl thanks to me. They all tuned in for the...
The never-ending propaganda barrage of the Democrat Party. It's everywhere. And, boy, they own the networks and the entertainment networks, the late-night TV, Saturday Night Live, Sunday morning news shows. They own CNN and MS-13, DNC. It's good to be a Democrat. The Communist Party apparatus has been built up over the decades. And now socialism is good and capitalism is bad. America's founding is a terrible, horrible thing, must be rejected. And the Castro brothers in Cuba, cool. As I've said before, the Democrat Party today is much closer on the ideological spectrum to Lee Harvey Oswald, politically and socially and culturally, than they are to John F. Kennedy. Me, I'm much closer to John F. Kennedy, the president. Did you see the private school in New York where John F. Kennedy went to school? Very exclusive private school in New York City where John F. Kennedy went to school. That is the same private exclusive school that Maryland Democrat Governor Wes Moore went to school before making his way to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. And the way he tells his life story, that was a hard scrabble life in the South Bronx, and then on to Baltimore. It was tough. It was a hard scrabble life. And turns out everything that Wes Moore has ever said about himself has been a lie. Hey, he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for combat in Afghanistan. No, he wasn't. No, he's in the Maryland College Football Hall of Fame. No, he's not. In fact, there is no Maryland College Football Hall of Fame, and that's how everybody knows he's not in the Maryland College Football Hall of Fame. But Wes Moore lies about everything. He lies about everything. And the great people at the Washington Free Beacon, they actually looked into it. They got out there and scratched that surface. You know how journalism can be. Scratch that surface. And if you scratch the surface on Democrat Governor Wes Moore, who the Democrats are planning on running for president, he's black, you know, and that is his only requisite qualification when it comes to the Democrat Party. And the fact that he's lied about everything in his entire life. Oh, and his great-grandfather, the KKK, which founded by a big Democrat Party leader, Nathan Bedford Forrest. And by the way, Forrest Gump was named for his ancestor, Nathan Bedford Forrest, and a founder of the KKK. And it's just a funny little scene in Forrest Gump with the guys on horseback and torches and ropes stampeding through. And it's done as a good laugh line and the thing. But never mind that. J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States, won't apologize for spreading claim Alex Pretty was a would-be assassin. Well, he just showed up with a pistol and a couple of loaded magazines to a violent mob action by the left in Minneapolis. But there was nothing. No, he's just exercising his Second Amendment rights. And this one is almost hilarious because the Democrats are now big supporters of Second Amendment rights and concealed carry and having an extra loaded magazine because, you know, they're the party of the first American Civil War. What did we decide we call it? We had a great caller with the first American Civil War. We'll get back to that. But J.D. Vance, I love this headline. J.D. Vance won't apologize for spreading claim Alex Pretty was a would-be assassin. No, he's just a peaceful protester, another peaceful, violently attacking, spitting in the faces of Latino law enforcement. But he's not a racist. He's a white supremacist, but he's not a racist. The Democrat Party and all of their lunacy and their mental illnesses. Isn't that extraordinary? Also, J.D. Vance explodes, might be a slight overstatement, at New York Representative Jerry Nadler, openly calling for shooting ICE agents. And that's true. Jerry Nadler, I played the audio for you yesterday, the corpulent Democrat from New York, openly calling for crazy people like Alex Pretty to shoot ICE agents. And the Democrat Party, from Alex Pretty to Jerry Nadler, I think they're a danger to domestic tranquility. I don't think there's any doubt. Also, President Trump was asked by a hack for NBC fake news, doing his, we just made mention of it in the lead-in, his pre-Super Bowl or Super Bowl interview. And of course, the whole point of the interview is to get Trump. And I love the condescending nature. One of the questions that we pulled from the left-wing radical NBC fake news reporter is, what have you learned, or what did you learn from Minneapolis? Well, that you guys are incredibly violent and crazy and mentally ill and suicidal, and everywhere you go there's a body count, and you're out of your stinking filthy minds. So we've got that. We also have updates on the Savannah Guthrie's mom going missing, and it is just a horrible story. But Savannah Guthrie and her sister and her brother sat frozen in place like hostages while Savannah Guthrie read a statement saying, hey, give us our mom back and let's make contact if you want your Bitcoin ransom money. And it was kind of a peculiar video for a couple of reasons. I think I'll share bits and pieces, tiny bits and pieces of that video with you. So we've got that going. Also, the Democrats, you know how they're violent and criminal all the time. We've got another attack on another Catholic church, this time in California. And the Democrats, they love Satan and they love vandalizing, in particular, Catholic churches. I talked about this during the Black Lives Matter riots when the Democrat Party was waging war against our culture, our civilization, and trying to erase their own history as the party of slavery and the Confederacy. But they do that every day, don't they? You make the lie big enough, no one will dare not believe it. And as their boy Joseph Goebbels of the Socialist Workers' Party famously said, a lie told once remains a lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. And the Democrat Party has certainly adopted the Joseph Goebbels rule and lots of other Joseph Goebbels rules as well. And the Reverend Al Sharpton, of course, you know, he knows all about that as well.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Goebbels?
It could have been. I think I did say that. They might have all been influenced by Goebbels. Their intellectual incapacity should be noted on a daily basis. But they attacked another Catholic church, and now the Department of, and they vandalized, there's a 5-foot statue of the Virgin Mary that they smashed because, you know, Virgin Mary is not really their bag, baby. Department of Justice now investigating vandalism of Catholic school and church in Long Beach, California, naturally. And does anybody remember how many other Catholic churches have been attacked by the Democrat Party in the last couple of years? Violently attacked, vandalized, desecrated. They're like the Democrat Party is like a number of scenes from Exorcist movies. They're out there vandalizing and attacking Catholic churches and the Virgin Mary and everything else. So we've got that. And they are the party of after-school Satan Club, after all, so it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, really. Also, AOC. AOC, she is quite the linguist, isn't she? She's quite the linguist. She's got a Twitter account, her official Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Twitter account. Intimidation is an age-old tactic to qualm public dissent and outrage. To qualm. I don't think she knows what the word qualm means. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. They do worship Satan, though. Also, the Secretary of the entire Department of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who is, I don't know if you've heard about this 1,000 times, the highest-ranking openly gay cabinet member of any administration ever in the history of the country, although I don't know if we're counting Hillary Clinton or if she would outrank Scott Bessent in the cabinet, but we'll leave that alone for the moment. But Scott Bessent on Capitol Hill yesterday testifying before a House committee, and we just discovered this as we were leaving the radio studio yesterday. And let me tell you something. Maxine Waters, speaking of intellectual incapacity, what an extraordinary piece of work she is, Maxine Waters. And she's shouting at the Treasury Secretary. She asks a question. He begins to answer it. And then she just starts shouting over him and tells him to shut up. Shut up. Can you shut him up? They're communists. They're pigs. They're They're left-wing radicals. They're not democratic at all. And I want to hear Maxine Waters, and there are others too. This Gregory Meeks, he's another radical, very dim-witted, very unintelligent Democrat member of the House of Representatives, and they had their issues with Scott Bessent yesterday. But I got to say, this guy, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary for President Trump, he sits there with a smile or even a smirk on his face, and he just shuts them down with quick lines. He's so much smarter than they are that they just they don't stand a chance. However, if you wonder what kind of a chance a snowball has in hell, just take a drive around Washington D.C. because the snow here doesn't melt. You know, if this were hell, snowball's got a pretty good chance in hell because the Democrats don't know how to plow snow. They don't know how to clear streets. They make matters worse most of the time. Driving up here today, they're still plowing the main roads. And what was the snow was how many days ago? I mean, it's just complete. It wasn't last weekend. It was the weekend before. And most of the roads in D.C. really haven't been plowed. The side street where I live and the side street behind my building, not plowed, just whatever the cars can do. Doing a little bit of drive-through, drive-over. But still, there are mountains of ice. You're going to need pickaxes. You're going to need heavy equipment to move the blocked ice that's frozen in place now because the city doesn't know how to plow snow. They don't know how to do anything in particular. They're not good at anything at all. But we've got that scratching the surface for you today. We've got a lot of amazing stories. The Democrat Party brings most of them. And I've got to say, this whole Savannah Guthrie's mother thing is pretty awful. It's an awful story, and I was talking about it yesterday, and I said my best girl, and I don't want to get over anybody else's skis here, but that's a tired old phrase, isn't it? Getting out over your skis, but the family. I think Savannah Guthrie seems like a perfectly normal daughter in a crisis situation, and I talked about it yesterday and how my best girl night before last over dinner said if she were the police that she'd be looking at Savannah Guthrie's sister, who had taken mom out to dinner and dropped her off at home at 9:30 or 9:45, and the camera at the front doorway to the house has apparently vanished, and that's inexplicable, and mom is gone. And then there were stories yesterday that Savannah Guthrie's sister's husband might be on the short list of suspects. And he was nowhere to be found yesterday when Savannah Guthrie, her sister, and her brother, who suddenly appeared, her brother Cameron and her sister Annie, and they made this video. And the video is peculiar in a number of ways. And I'd say that the behavior of the sister Annie and the brother Cameron, I'm just going to say it seemed peculiar to me in the video. I think, why would mom be targeted? Who would target mom? I think you got to look at family first and foremost. Neighbors second. Doesn't appear to be any issue with neighbors, but it's a peculiar story. And the only emotional person in the video posted last night was Savannah Guthrie. Her sister Annie, her brother Cameron. Again, they looked like they were being held by ISIS. They were frozen in place and completely unemotional. It was peculiar. The FBI was involved in the making of the video. That might be why the FBI was at the sister's house yesterday, which I also reported while we were on the air. But then again, maybe that's only part of the story there. We are at 888-630-9625. Hey, we're back. How about that? Yeah, this Wes Moore story, what a piece of work this guy is. The Democrats want him to be president because he's black. They don't care that everything he's ever said is a lie, a shameless, flagrant lie. He's a pathological liar, and that actually elevates him in Democrat Party circles. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Matt calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Matt.
Happy Thursday in D.C. Snow Creek Topia.
Telling you, we're going to have to wait for spring.
Yeah, same here. Hey, so the thing I haven't heard yet from the lunatic left, but I'm still waiting, is that it's actually these evil masked federal agents who kick in doors and invade homes without a warrant to kidnap and murder U.S. citizens, that's who went and got Savannah Guthrie's mom, and that it's some kind of tangential Trump attack on the fake news because Savannah Guthrie works for NBC.
Well, I was texting with someone yesterday afternoon, Matt, and he suggested that Trump should send hundreds of ICE and Border Patrol agents into Phoenix, Arizona, to look for Savannah Guthrie's mom and drive around in black SUVs with body armor and rifles, wearing masks, looking for Savannah Guthrie's mom. And it would cause, intellectual chaos. If I can use the word intellectual in this context, it would cause intellectual chaos on the left because they naturally would want to violently attack the ICE agents. But if they're looking for Savannah Guthrie's mom, they'd have to be conflicted, presumably, Matt. And then what would the media do? They'd be so confused, someone might have to self-immolate. Honestly, because they could set up roadblocks and they could block ICE and Customs and Border Patrol from driving around in the Phoenix area looking for Savannah Guthrie's mother. The Democrats, political incontinence that would become evident would actually be fun to watch. And I wish the Guthrie family no harm. Of course, and mom should be recovered and brought back home, 84-year-old mom, obviously. But, the Democrat Party, they're out there violently opposing law enforcement in Minnesota when they're trying to round up and arrest and deport child rapists and convicted murderers and multiple illegal reentry criminals to the United States. And the Democrats are defending the worst kind of miscreants loose in the country today. Let's send the ICE people over to Phoenix, Arizona to look for Savannah Guthrie's mom and see how the Democrats respond to that.
Hey, Chris, and some, Phoenix probably doesn't need it, but Arizona, but some self-immolations around the country, especially Minnesota and D.C., that might actually help melt the snow and stuff, warm things up. So
that's a good point.
Self-immolation might be good, a good thing.
I keep waiting for kind of a Jonestown, for the Democrats to have a Jonestown scale event somewhere in the United States. And strangely, Minnesota just might be that place. They got a lot of Somalis there. I don't know, the Somalis, a lot of Islamist extremist Somalis, certainly. And turns out an awful lot of the money, the billions that have been stolen in Minnesota alone, a lot of it going to Somalia to fund a terror group. The Democrat Party is not really a legitimate political party. They're nuts. Nuts, I tell you. There's a Democrat congressman from California named Jared Huffman. Jared Huffman, Democrat California representative, walked around the floor of the House of Representatives barefoot yesterday in order to honor the late Grateful Dead songster Bobby Weir. Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead died. So a Democrat Congressman, Jared Huffman, I wonder if he's doing LSD. Because, going to Grateful Dead shows normally involve doing a lot of LSD and hallucinating and tripping your brains out. Weir, the Grateful Dead's legendary guitarist and songwriter, died on January 10th at the age of 78 during a hearing. Huffman, Democrat Congressman Jared Huffman of California, he rose on the House floor to honor Bob Weir, noted that he delivered the tribute barefoot because, and really it's not clear whether he was doing LSD at the time, but it would be unsurprising, I think. Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the extraordinary life and legacy of my constituent and the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Bob Weir. Bob was more than a musical icon. He was a neighbor, a friend, a beloved part of our North Bay community. That's good because, Bob, I have friends and I have family that are deadheads that have been, I have at least one family member that's been to over 100, or went to, past tense, over 100 Grateful Dead shows, and they still do Fish shows and all that. I'll leave the LSD part out of that. But the congressman from California, that's what they do. Yeah, and I got to get Wes Moore, the Democrat, Wes Moore, this show. I've only got 2.5 hours left, but this Wes Moore story, the Democrat governor of Maryland, is quite a remarkable story. I've got to say, something to see. Let me get. President Trump is at the National Prayer Breakfast today, and that's taking place on Capitol Hill. The president. Well, actually, it said they were taking place on Capitol Hill. I saw that on the news today. The room looks like the International Ballroom at the Washington Hilton Hotel. I know my ballrooms in Washington, D.C. I just saw a video of that. But let's go to President Trump, because his speech, as you might expect, was more riff and less teleprompter. It was more stuff going on in the world and less National Prayer Breakfast. But the National Prayer Breakfast today, it's the 74th annual National Prayer Breakfast, and presidents normally attend. President Trump today at the National Prayer Breakfast covering the waterfront.
It's a true honor to be back with so many incredible leaders and people of faith at the National Prayer Breakfast. I think I've been here just about every time. It's hard to turn it down. I don't have the courage to turn it down. Sometimes I want to. Come back from a horrendous trip fighting people that can't stand us, keeping us out of wars. And last time I came, I got in at 4 a.m. They said, "Sir, you're going to be speaking at 7." I said, "Really? Oh, that's wonderful." I said, "Where?" "National Prayer Breakfast." I said, "I'll be there." I'm afraid not to be. I need all the help I can get.
This year he started at about 8:50, I think, about 10 minutes before 9. None of that 7 a.m. stuff. I mean, we know he's up at 7 a.m. because he's always busy doing stuff. But that's great. And then it got a little bit political because, Democrats and their violent anti-Christian, send us Barabbas Democrat Party.
I don't know how a person of faith can vote for a Democrat. I really don't. And I know we have some here today. And
little nervous noise.
Because they certainly don't give us their vote. I certainly know that we're not going to be convincing them to vote for a little thing called voter ID. It polls at 97%. And even the the voters are at 82% for voter ID. But the leaders don't want to approve it. They said they will strike. They will not allow it to happen. It's polling at over 90%. It's called voter identification. When you go to the polls, you show, yes, my name is so-and-so, and I live in the country. I'm here. I can vote. They say that's not allowed.
And what was it? We covered this yesterday, that, 19 states, Democrat states, give driver's licenses to foreign nationals. You don't have to be an American. The Democrats like to give them to illegal aliens because they love illegal aliens and the murder and the crimes that they commit. They love that. And 15 of those states automatically register you to vote when you get a driver's license. And the Democrat Party knows that they're looking to steal elections. That's what it's all about. But President Trump, the National Prayer Breakfast, he's unhesitating and he's unabashed and he's the Democrats don't, they're anti-American. I know they didn't vote for me and they're anti-God and all that. And I've got to say, I made passing mention of it a little bit earlier, but the Washington Examiner has the story. DOJ investigating vandalism of Catholic school in Long Beach. That's Long Beach, California, in the greater Los Angeles metroplex. The Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation. You got Don Lemon and their mob going into a church in St. Paul, Minnesota, and vandalizing the church service at a bare minimum. And now the Justice Department opened a civil rights investigation after vandals broke into and desecrated a Catholic school campus in Long Beach, California, destroying religious statues, including the Virgin Mary. Looked like a 5-foot-high statue of Virgin Mary. They smashed it to pieces, destroyed the chapel, it's the church at the Catholic school, which a Democrat went into and shot up and shot a number of children recently at a Catholic school where the kids were praying in the chapel when a Democrat broke in and shot the place up and shot people up. And so they destroyed religious statues, causing extensive damage, federal and local officials said. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon announced in an X post that the Department of Civil Rights, the DOJ Civil Rights Division, would investigate what she described as an awful crime, and tagging Attorney General Pam Bondi in the tweet. And the Democrats said, okay, it's apparently more than $100,000 in damage. Catholic school, Catholic church, Virgin Mary, everything else, trashed, destroyed, smashed, desecrated. Civil Rights Division does not tolerate violence or destruction of property motivated by religious animus, Harmeet Dillon told the Washington Examiner, saying that the rise in anti-Christian bias across the country in recent years by the Democrat Party demonstrates the importance of robust enforcement of our civil rights laws. We will investigate this incident and prosecute any individuals we determine committed a federal crime. Now, the vandalism occurred at Holy Innocents Catholic School in Long Beach, where school officials said intruders ransacked the campus overnight. It happened on Sunday night and overnight on Sunday. And the school's assembly hall, the chapel, everything, the classrooms, they were broken into, statues were smashed, images of the Virgin Mary and other religious figures destroyed, and a photograph of the Pope knocked to the floor because, you think that they might not be pro-Catholic or pro-religion. I was reminded when I read this that my best girl's mother was, now deceased, was off the boat from Ireland, and she met an American Air Force officer who was serving in Spain, my best girl's Irish mother from Ireland, and they married and moved back to the United States, to Georgia, where he was from, and attending a Catholic church as a nice Irish Catholic lady from Ireland. Her Catholic church in the early 1960s was attacked by the KKK, who burned a cross on the property of her Catholic church. And my best girl's mom, a nice Irish mom, was, gosh, this is different. I thought the Protestants were bad in Northern Ireland, but come to Georgia and you got the Democrats burning crosses in front of you. And I saw this, the story of the attack on the Catholic Church, and I was reminded, because I remember things, of the Catholic vote, which kept a running tally during the Black Lives Matter riots that the Democrats were waging war against our civilization. And the Tommy Valentine wrote in the Catholic Vote website, catholicvote.org, that they had a tracker, and they had more than 500 attacks on U.S. Catholic churches since May of 2020. And he wrote this in June of 2022. And it turned out that there were about 547 as of this writing since May 28th of 2020 until June of 2022. That's about 2 years for Democrats trying to do the math. At least 547 attacks against Catholic churches in the United States, including acts of arson, damage or destroyed historic churches, spray painting, graffiti, satanic messages, rocks and bricks thrown through windows, including stained glass windows, statues destroyed, often with heads cut off. Again, it's like a scene from at least one of the Exorcist movies, because the Democrat Party is the party of Satan. Just amazing. At least 380 attacks have been perpetrated against Catholic churches since the Supreme Court leak having to do with abortion, which the Democrats love so much, with many including graffiti with pro-abortion messages. They go to Catholic churches with spray paint cans and they spray paint their pro-abortion messages. Now, when I was refreshing my memory on this today, thanks to the good people at the CatholicVote.org, who kept track of all the Democrat violence against Catholic churches all over the country, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, and the South, all the way up to the northern border, from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, from Maine to San Diego, hundreds and hundreds of Catholic churches attacked. And then, naturally, I said, well, gee, I wonder if that's got anything to do with After School Satan Club, which the Democrats run. And that is the satanictemple.com. They're not a .org, though. After School Satan. I'm at their website right now. The Satanic Temple After School Satan Club. And After School Satan Club, it's an after-school program. They say it right here on their webpage. The intellectual and creative interests of students who worship Satan, because the Democrats want them to worship Satan and to firebomb the Jewish governors' mansions and Catholic churches and everything else. And you may recall I read this story at the time from 2016, the Washington Post, with their heroic headline, "An After-School Satan Club could be coming to your kid's elementary school." And they wrote very proudly, the Democrats did, about the After-School Satan Club. Catherine Stewart typing on behalf of the radical left in, it was July 30th of 2016. It's a hot summer night, and the leaders of the Satanic Temple have gathered in the crimson-walled living room of a Victorian manse in this city renowned for its witch trials in the 17th century. This is from Salem, Mass. They're watching the sepia-tone video in which children dance around a maypole, a spider crawls across a clown's face, and eerie ambient chanting gives way to a backward demonic voiceover. The group chuckles with approval. Sure, here they're plotting to bring their wisdom to the nation's public elementary school children. They point out that Christian evangelical groups already have infiltrated the lives of America's children through after-school religious programming in public schools. Sure, and they appear determined to give your students a choice, Jesus or Satan. Sure, naturally, that's what the Democrats do. That's who the Democrats are. That's the Democrat Party. And another Catholic church attacked like a Satan movie, like an Exorcist movie. And it's not news on CNN or on MS-13 or on the pages of the Washington Post, because they're not on Team America. But there it is. That's your Democrat Party. They love Satan. All right, let's grab a quick phone call, Michael. Let's go to Craig, calling from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Oh, Craig, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Craig.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you very much.
I've heard you mention Wes Moore a number of times this morning.
Oh, yeah, Wes Moore, yeah, heroic liar.
I can summarize Wes Moore as a Marylander who met Wes Moore at an election station in Gaithersburg a few years ago. I would summarize Wes Moore this way. We need more freedom and less Wes Moore.
More freedom, less Wes Moore. See, I always thought he should
Correct.
be called Les Moore. His parents should have called him Lester or Leslie, so he could be Les Moore, and that'd be a funnier name. But Wes Moore, you know, I got to tell you, Craig, have you seen the piece that the Washington Free Beacon did on Democrat Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, that the Democrats want to run for president? Have you seen this story?
I have not.
I'm going to share at least the salient portions of that story with you coming up. So stay glued to your radio, because this is a guy the Democrats plan on running for president. He's the next Barack Hussein Obama. And wait till you hear what a liar this guy is. It's everything he's ever said about himself, about the nation, about everything. Everything is a lie. Here's one of his famous phrases. Wes Moore is kind of an amazing phrase, I've got to say. where he says that he's well acquainted with the case against America. He's well acquainted with the case against America. Well, of course, he's a Democrat. They're anti-American. Thanks for teeing that up, Craig. Thanks. Nice call. Thank you. Oh, hey now. And why is Jeff Bezos' wife? Jeff Bezos has a kind of newish wife. And there are reports everywhere that because Jeff Bezos bought, what did he buy? MGM Studios, that his wife will choose the next James Bond. His wife, because, hey, honey, why don't you choose the next James Bond, the actor that will play James Bond? I've got that coming up. And what are the Democrats doing with Satan today? Oh, he's got to look into that, don't you? And what is with the Ford Foundation funneling tens of millions of dollars into radical left-wing protesters rioting in the streets of America? I have that coming up as well. But right now, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Richard, calling from Manassas, Virginia. Ricardo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
As always, thank you for taking my call. I just want to be real quick. I see the clock is against me. Hey, I'm a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan deployments. Both times I received a Bronze Star Medal before I redeployed from those countries. And I could just tell you, along with the probably 100 or so that also received them, it's not uncommon to receive Bronze Star medals. So for Wesley Moore to not have received his Bronze Star medal until he got grooved to him years later by a buddy, he must not have been a very competent officer, because 16 hours out of the 24, you were on the job. And that 8 hours is probably just you trying to get in some rack time before you went at it again. So he must not have been very good at his job if he had to kind of lie about getting a Bronze Star medal, and then years later it finally got approved after the fact.
Well, and that's exactly right. He claimed for years and years that he was awarded the Bronze Star in Afghanistan, and that was never true. And it became a little bit of a political liability for him. So a pal made sure that he got a medal ex post facto.